Lesson 24. I do not perceive my own best interests. In no situation that arises do you realize the outcome that would make you happy. I love the snarkiness. Therefore, you have no guide to appropriate action and no way of judging the result. What you do is determined by your perception of the situation, and that perception is wrong. It is inevitable then that you will not serve your own best interests, yet they are your only goal in any situation which is correctly perceived. Otherwise, you will not recognize what they are. If you realized that you do not perceive your own best interests, you could be taught what they are. But in the presence of your conviction that you do know what they are, you cannot learn. The idea for today is a step toward opening your mind so that learning can begin. The exercises for today require much more honesty than you are accustomed to using. A few subjects, honestly and carefully considered in each of the 5 practice periods, which should be undertaken today, will be more helpful than a more cursory examination of a large number. 2 minutes are suggested for each of the mind-searching periods, which the exercises involve. The practice periods should begin with repeating today's idea, followed by searching the mind with closed eyes for unresolved situations about which you are currently concerned. The emphasis should be on uncovering the outcome you want. You will quickly realize that you have a number of goals in mind as part of the desired outcome, and also that these goals are on different levels and often conflict. In applying the idea for today, name each situation that occurs to you, and then enumerate carefully as many goals as possible that you would like to be met in its resolution. The form of each application should be roughly as follows. In the situation involving, I would like to happen, and to happen, and so on. Try to cover as many different kinds of outcomes as may honestly occur to you, even if some of them do not appear to be directly related to the situation, or even to be inherent in it at all. If these exercises are done properly, you will quickly recognize that you are making a large number of demands of the situation, which have nothing to do with it. You will also recognize that many of your goals are contradictory, that you have no unified outcome in mind, and that you must experience disappointment in connection with some of your goals, however the situation turns out. Well, after covering the list of as many hoped-for goals as possible for each unresolved situation that crosses your mind, say to yourself, I do not perceive my own best interests in this situation, and go on to the next one. I do not perceive my own best interests. This is one of those, he really gets you with this one. I love this paragraph. Paragraph 6. If these exercises are done properly, you're gonna quickly realize you are making a large number of demands on a situation which have absolutely nothing to do with it. What else? Also, many of your goals contradict each other and have no unified outcome in mind. Okay? And you must experience disappointment as a result. Well, tell me something else, Jesus. Well, yeah, expectations, right? We think we know. We think we know. And that is just part of our human nature. It's something that we shouldn't really feel too guilty about. Just learn to accept and realize it's not the most powerful position to be in, that we're keeping ourselves stuck in those cycles and patterns of suffering and stress and repeating these lessons over and over again because we think we know. And if we don't get to a place of realignment with love and ask for help in seeing things differently, we can't understand from that higher place. We think we know, and we forget to ask God what He knows. An all-knowing, all-encompassing creative force of unconditional, infinite love and wisdom. Yeah, we have access to that. We forget our power, and that is our power as children of God, to join with that force, with that mind. We are ideas in the mind of God. We have this incredible library of knowledge and loving solution at our next thought, in our next thought. And we forget to ask, how can we see this? What's the higher level of wisdom here? We forget our power and we get lost in the chaos. And that is really a great explanation of what that part of your mind, the ego, the vengeful, limited, loveless, fearful part of your mind, would have you stay in, being lost in a maze of suffering and past wrongs and grievance. Because remember, that part of your mind is sustained by your belief in it. So as long as it can distract you into never escaping the fear and lovelessness and guilt and limitation, then you don't realize your power and step out and realign with God, then you wouldn't believe so much in it. Then the ego is silenced. It doesn't have any power over you because you don't believe in it anymore. So it wants you distracted. I do not perceive my own best interests because I'm lost in that chaos. The world is showing me, I'm in the battlefield, I'm in the battleground. The world is showing me evidence of that, of the chaos. And it's really easy to get stuck and lost within it and distracted. But it's all about remembering who we truly are and letting God guide us. God does not give us victory in battle. He lifts us above the battleground. So once we remember that, we are then lifted to a place where God is guiding us. We are receiving information, insight, wisdom, where we should go, what we should do, what we should say, what miracle to work. That's how we get our direction, miracle workers. But we have to be lifted to that place to hear it clearly so that all the other voices within us are silenced except for God's. And when God is guiding us, that means love is guiding us. That means miracles occur naturally as expressions of that love. And they flow effortlessly as a result. We move from being in a place of constant struggle to a place of flow, lifted above all of that chaos, a place of peace and clarity and happiness and love. We become effective instead of at the effect. One of the lessons in the Course is I choose the second place to gain the first, which means we realize we no longer we don't perceive our own best interests. We realize that the nature of the world, the nature of our human experience is the evidence is going to come back to us: chaos, fear, lovelessness, limitation. So that we're not going to have the clearest view, the point of view of God, the direct view to the correction, to the solution, to the wisdom, to the miracle. God does. God's got it there waiting for us, and we have to ask. And then when we do, we can hear it and see it. When we allow God to move through us, when we're choosing the second place to gain the first, that's the power position. I know I don't know. I don't perceive my own best interests. I know that I'm human. I'm at the effect of something. I'm upset, so something's not clear. I don't perceive my own best interest in this situation. God, take control. Move through me. Show me how to see it differently. Step back, let him move through you, and everything shifts. That is the miracle. That's realigning with God, with love. Then we can navigate life with trust and certainty and faith, because we're realizing we're not doing it. It's a relief. It's liberating. I don't have to be in control. I don't have to come up with all the solutions from my place of limited understanding. I don't have to know everything. I don't have to Google and figure this out. You're not separate. The power of God is moving through you. So you're choosing the second place to gain the first. You are collapsing time, the Course says. Miracles collapse time. Instead of struggling and staying in that cycle and trying to force it and rely on yourself to figure things out that you can't possibly, you're letting the God of the universe and all-encompassing love and wisdom figure it out for you and move through you. And that's what a miracle worker does. I have had the experience in my life. I was an only child. I have a home. I'm a homeowner, and things happen, and I'm very independent. I will Google it. I will buy the thing that I need to fix it. I will Google how to use that, and I will fix it. I will not ask for help. And it's a little bit of a limiting response. It's a trouble. I won't say traumatic. It's a troublesome response because it's hyper independence, right? It's not asking for help. And I think so many of us in the world have this hyper independence, and I've got to figure it out. There's some kind of payoff if I do it myself, but it's not always the best case. So remember, you're not alone. It's perfectly okay to ask for help in a world where we need that higher wisdom. In fact, it's encouraged by God to ask him for his help. I do not perceive my own best interests. Allow him to move through you and show you, to help you to see things differently, to think about situations differently, so that you might move through the world more gracefully and miraculously and become a miracle worker. I'll see you tomorrow.